everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here with Bish's RV, hanging out with some 2023 updates on the Spirit 2557, technically called Northern Spirit. I just call them Spirit for the sake of simplicity. This is a really hard to find kind of camper where it's a good couples model. It should fit a lot of half-ton towability. Late model tow package half-tons should find this very nicely towable because of the length, the weight, and the wide stance stability axles. Additionally, it's like under 30 foot, so it's something that it doesn't feel too big and too intimidating to wheel around, and you can get it in and out of a lot of sites where the big 32, 35 foot trailers just won't work. The other thing here is this is really hard to find in that it is extremely friendly to taller people because it has an extra tall sidewall and a vaulted ceiling and a true queen bed and a nice tall shower. Like anywhere that you want extra headroom or foot room if you're laying on the bed, as it were, this one's going to satisfy that. That is really hard to find in something that's half-ton towable under 30 feet. Now, these are double azdel sidewalls, so it's azdel inside and out, which is nice. They have doubled the solar package, basically, compared to last year with a much better charge controller system than they were using. Last year was 100 watts, no expansion. This year, it's 200 watts with a 30-amp controller that you should be able to add an extra panel onto if you want. Now, it's carpetless, it's ventless, it's easy cleaning, it's got a nice, light, bright interior decor. It does have a couple hiccups, though. Like, we're going to talk about one of those more in depth as we go, like the roof access or kind of lack thereof, and what happens in road mode travel access. But giving you the good with the bad, that's what I'm going to do here in this video. And if you like little things like that, trying to show you the fair view of things, hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, let's get started. So, like I said, this RV does a couple things that are really hard to find. It's also got a couple little hitches in its giddy-up. And showing you the hitches and the glitches along with the giddy-up, that's the kind of stuff I want to do here for you. Like, I love this is carpetless, this is ventless flooring, this is easy cleaning, carpetless, including the slide out. And one of my favorites is when manufacturers make the slide floor match the rest of the floor. To me, it just gives it a big, open, clean look. And with this light bright decor and the extra tall ceiling, this one definitely qualifies for the definition of big and open. And they're doing this in two ways. First of all, they have a taller sidewall at 6'9" tall. Then they also have a vaulted ceiling. So this thing ends up being like nearly 7 foot tall inside, whereas the average industry standard for travel trailer height is 6.5 foot sidewalls with no vaulted ceiling. Now there's certainly plenty of vaulted ceiling models. There's certainly plenty of models that have 6'9" walls like this one. But there's a very small list of RVs that do both of those or anything similar to that to give you a really big, tall feel. Like Rockwood Signature does that, Eagle HT, Reflection, the new Ember Touring. But those are some big, high-dollar names that I just threw out there. And this is something that is a little more in the working man, working woman's kind of, budget range sort of here. So I'm sitting in the sofa seat all the way to the right-hand side, like right against the slide wall. And here's kind of the point of view there. Now, that TV can pivot around a little bit. We'll get to see that in a few seconds. If I slide to the left, you see that suddenly we are on Boardwalk and Park Place straight across from this sucker right there. Now, we're looking at the 12-volt DC compressor fridge. That is the standard in this one. Notice, too, they've darkened up the countertops a little bit versus last year just to add a nice little contrast to it. I think you can still get a gas-electric two-way option on these, but talking to a lot of manufacturers, it does sound like the days of those things are quickly becoming numbered. Now, again, sharing the good with the bad with you. You may have noticed this thing suffers from a lethal dose of nearly no campside windows. That's just not this one's strength. That's an unfortunate thing that's extremely common in a floor plan like this, though. Pretty much no matter who builds it, it's really hard to put good campside windows on this one. The North Trail 25 RBP does a decent job, but even then it's still pretty minimal. There's just only so much you can do with it. Notice, too, with that taller sidewall, they also went with a taller slide out, which just maximizes those windows, makes everything look and feel a little bit bigger in here. The air conditioner, standard 13,500 BTU, can be upgraded to a 15K. And today, over here, what we're looking at is the trifold hide-a-bed sleeper sofa. I believe that's the standard in these. You do have a theater seat swaption, though. So I'd be kind of curious to know which one of those would you prefer. Now, the hide-a-bed doesn't normally slope down like that. Apparently, this hide-a-bed was the legs were adjusted for not being in a slide out. When you're in a slide, it does pop up a little bit, so that can be adjusted. But look at that, like, Legend of Zelda hidden storage walk-in pantry on this thing. There's literally like a walk-in coat closet. You've got all that shelf space in there. I mean, you know, what would you pack in that thing? You got plenty of big, tall room. Like if you got a little Dyson, like, you know, wet vac or wet mop or whatever those things are. I mean, there's, you know, big, tall stuff. That's a funny thing. A lot of RVs really struggle trying to give you a place to put stuff like a broom. Sorry if I'm a little bit distracted today. The weather is, it's finally starting to turn a little bit cold and snotty, and I'm just having a little trouble adjusting to it this morning. My brain's just kind of struggling against that. Anyway, you saw that you've got nice little details too, like you got a little wireless phone charger in there below the TV. You have the little, you know, sink cover storage. You've got the little doggy dish bowls below the one side of the dinette booth, but you don't have to use those things. You can get rid of those as well. But up here in the bedroom, you've also got that easy lift vaulted storage system. Cool thing about that is this is a 60 by 80 True Queen bed. So just like the taller ceiling and the taller shower that you're going to see, this is an RV that is very, very well suited to larger, taller people. They do not currently offer anything in the way of like a king bed option, so kind of keep that in mind. I really like headboard power pockets in RVs. This one doesn't have any of those, but it does have that extra little shelf above the bed, which does give you a little place to maybe set like just a little phone when you're not using it, or a book or something like that. You know, anybody actually still read hard copy books when you're camping? There's something very simple and soothing about that I actually really, really like. You know, it's not for everybody, I suppose, but I don't know. I'm kind of starting to be, as I age a little bit here, sometimes it's nice to just kind of unplug and go basic mode on things and not necessarily all digital beep boop technical or anything like that. Now, did you notice in the slide outs, all the windows open for airflow? And I showed you, but I was talking about something else at the time. Did you notice what was going on with this tabletop over here? Because if you look at it right now, you're like, that's kind of stupid. How am I supposed to use the back of the U-bench when the table comes almost all the way up to the cushions? Did you notice how that tabletop can actually be reversed? You see how the legs are asymmetrical versus the table itself? So if you want more of a two-booth bench function, you have that. If you want more of a U function, you have that. However, again, telling you straight facts here, that's not what I would refer to as a true U dinette. In an effort to kind of give people, because U dinettes are quite popular, to give people the idea that, yes, there's a U dinette here, and technically, yes, it is, but also to keep the RV shorter, because U dinettes are longer. I don't know if everybody realizes that. This is a traditionally sized dinette that has a U bench thrown in the back. So really, 3 people are about all you're going to sit at that, unless you grab like an extra chair that you put on the front side of the table. And frankly, I think that could be, you could keep something like a folding stool or some extra chairs or something in that big hideaway walk-in pantry-tainment center. I don't know. I don't think that's a bad idea by any means. Now, pardon my umbrella down in the floor. Again, the weather's turned a little bit today. It's actually been snowing, but it's still just warm enough that the snow's not sticking on the ground. Super, super fun to be making these videos, obviously, in that kind of weather, but it's only going to get worse, and that's what happens when you live in Michigan, and I choose to live here, so I'm not going to complain too much about it right now. Probably complain more about it as the season rolls on. Did you notice nice tall ceiling there in the shower space? And I don't remember that extra cabinet above the toilet space. I'm glad it's there. I'll take any storage over no storage any day of the week, but I don't remember it being there. Oh, you got a little reflection of me in the little half-open medicine cabinet over here. Apologies, I'll be signing, well, apologies, in the parking lot after this here today instead of autographs. Gigantic counter space, because this goes over like a little mini camp kitchen space. Now, from the toilet, if you pivot the TV, you might be able to keep an eye on the Browns if they make it to the Super Bowl, but it's certainly, obviously not the most toilet TV certified kind of camper. Now, if you notice, we're in the bathroom and the slide's closed, so I think that that's a pretty good indicator that from the entry door we can very easily walk straight into the bathroom of this one. So travel little potty stop is definitely available. And you notice walking right down the middle of this thing, the slide doesn't block anything off, so getting to all the kitchen stuff is great. The one major hiccup and hang up on this one is that with the slide closed, you will absolutely lose the bedroom. And if you appreciate that we take the time to showcase things like this, even when they're not glaringly positive, hit that subscribe button and know that we're always going to do our best to give you fair info. Alright, so stepping outside here, one of the big questions I always like to try to tackle is what's it going to take to tow this thing? And taking a second look at the weights and measures right there, you notice how this one tops out at about 7,500 pounds. That's GVW. That means the maximum weight of the RV when it's fully loaded with maximum cargo. So at most, this RV weighs 7,500 pounds. It weighs, I don't know, 5,800 to 5,900 empty, dry, sitting on the ground as we see it here today. What that means is that I think a lot of late model tow package half tons are going to handle this very nicely. Again, considering the fact that it's not super long, considering the fact that it has the wide stance stability axles for, like, you know, easier ride and handling and tracking going down the road. Handy little things like you got the little magnet holdbacks for the baggage doors. Now they put big doors on both sides of this pass-through. One of the interesting things, though, is that you notice it's not like a fully unobstructed pass-through. That's because you have that cool vaulted bed storage system over here on the left. Now, as long as we're down here, let's take a little peek up, and you've got a couple things going on. You've got that new improved battery charge controller on this thing, well, solar charge controller as it were, which charges the battery, so I guess technically not inaccurate. It also has a little digital readout on it to let you know kind of like how much juice you got coming into that thing or available. So it's kind of like having, you know, a gas tank gauge, but for the Lightning in those little, you know, juice boxes on the front of this thing. Also, a couple cool little details, like you see you've got the little drill bit adapter for this thing so that you can NASCAR pit crew the jacks up and down nice and easily. Also, you've got what I like to refer to as the pole holder built into the front of this sucker, which, as the name implies, very, very handy for things like fishing poles, but I also feel like it's a good place to maybe keep just like a little loose golf club or perhaps a broadsword to protect yourself from a zombie invasion or gas station murder hobos what come a get you. Now, we all know those are very serious, real threats in today's world. That is why I take my family's personal security very, very seriously. Now, you see this little T-bracket off the side. I don't have the module out, but this RV includes a little digital leveling monitor so that basically you hook it up on the side, and then, like, you know, as you're backing over boards or the Lego blocks or whatever to level the RV out side to side, you have a visual reference point to see if that's been completed successfully before you have to hop in and out of the RV a bunch of times. Now, this is a good extended season camper. So, you know, if it's going to spend a long, hard time below zero or, you know, below freezing, she's not necessarily made for that. But unless it's going to be hard froze for a long time, you're going to be fine. And if there's no snowflakes flying, guaranteed no issues there. And if you noticed in the front side, just in front of the tires, there was a kitchen gray tank outlet. Unfortunately, just the way this one stacks up, you do have a two-stage sewer outlet where you've got your black and gray from the bathroom all the way in the back, whereas you have your kitchen gray in front of the tires. Thankfully, none of those poles are directly below a slide out, so they're not hard to get to, but it does take two hookups to get this one fully exhausted. That's just kind of one of the symptoms of this floor plan. Now, I need your input on this. I spoke with my factory representative this morning, and I shared my opinion, but I would like to hear what you think. Right now, Northern Spirit seems to be one of the very few brands that aren't including at least these little, you know, telescopic ladder mount brackets. Now, they do have a walk-on roof, but they don't actually give us anywhere to get up there. You know, and as long as we're talking about up there, here's a quick little peek at the improved solar packages they had on these, rather than the, what was it, like a little 100-watt panel they had last year. Now it's a 200-watt panel, which is really nice. And considering the manufacturer has a warranty that says you have to check roof seals periodically, it just seems interesting that they're not giving us any way to get up there. So, If I could change one thing on this RV, I would like to see some type of factory roof ladder access, even if it was just a mount and not a full ladder, something to allow me to get up there rather than a portable extension ladder, which you could still obviously use, you know. But that's my 2 cents. I'd love to know what you think about that, and what is the one thing you would change on this RV given the opportunity? Now, they did an awesome job shoving a little miniature camp kitchen, a little convenience center here, and it's kind of funny seeing the way that it interacts with the bathroom sink. You know, they didn't really hide the bathroom plumbing, but that doesn't really bother me, because then it means that we have this open pocket section right here, which, considering they added some outlets in there, you could use for a number of different things. Now, the RV does have a black tank flush. It does have some drunken uncle leash latches to keep the four-legged furry friends tied down. It's got all those basic accoutrement, if you will, of a lot of RVs. Like I said, it's an interesting blend of some really smart features, but just with one or two little along the way. That's my take on it anyway. What do you think? Now, there is certainly no shortage of RVs with a very similar floor plan out there within the industry. So I'm going to do a couple things here for you. Check the links in the video description. One, I'll have all the weights and the measures listed for you down there if you ever need to refer back to them. But two, I'll have links to check for pricing and availability on this, as well as 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, however many I think to look up, other RV companies that build a very, very similar layout to this one, so that you can kind of cross-compare. And I'd be kind of curious to know, what do you think about this one as a whole? Also, of all the different builders you've seen that make this layout, which one do you think is your favorite? Which one do you think is the best? And if I don't have footage of one, I'll try to put it on my hit list and see what I can scare up for you later this year. So until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.